Hello, everyone, and welcome to People of Interest. I am your host, Miguel Guanipa. People of Interest is a show based on stories from people like you and me. My hope is that these stories, as people tell them, and someone out there watches them, that they would be entertained, encouraged, and maybe even inspired. Today, my guest is what I think is a great guy. I don't know him really a lot, but the little that I know him, I think he's a great guy. I could be mistaken. We'll find out. He's a father, and I understand he's also a wonderful husband. And he's a funny guy, apparently, too. I'm finding out about him. And I want to welcome, his name is Joe Muscolino. Joe,
Hey,
thank you so much for joining me.
you are very welcome. Thank you for having me, Miguel.
Thank you for driving. It's a crazy night tonight.
A little bit.
Thank you for getting out there because I had a tough time reaching you. So
Really?
yeah, you're like you don't
My
answer,
ghost?
you don't answer emails.
Oh.
You're a very busy guy, huh?
Well,
I don't want to give you a hard time.
no, no, no. It's fine. No, yeah. There are times.
Yeah.
There are seasons when I
Yeah.
can be less responsive than others.
Oh, is that? Oh, this was a tough. You have having a very
yes,
busy
and
season.
depending on, I have a few different email addresses, and so there'll be times where I forgot. I'll forget that I'm like, oh yeah, that account exists.
So you got
I gotta check it.
you got a lot of people trying to reach you, trying to get a hold of you and stuff.
Oh
or-
yeah, a lot of creditors.
very
A lot of,
important.
I just didn't, no. Yes,
You change your name.
I have like
and everything.
57 different emails and aliases. No,
Oh.
no.
Oh, see, I knew you were a funny guy. So anyway, you told me you had a near-death experience coming here.
Well,
tonight.
it seemed I thought I was.
Yeah?
The parking lot that I was in at work wasn't treated at all prior to me leaving.
Yeah.
So it was a lot worse there than it was once I hit the main roads. It was okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was asking you earlier that because some people get a little apprehensive, a little nervous when they come here, which they shouldn't, but you seem to be okay. You say you're okay with it.
I'm good.
But you never
Yes.
done this before.
I've not done this before.
Okay.
But having having met you and knowing you a little bit, for sure,
You know I'm not going to give you a hard time.
alleviated
Yeah.
any sort of apprehension or nervousness. So
Well, you're also you're a musician.
I am.
At a church
Hmm.
called Tree of Song Life. Look at Life Song. Look at me.
Yes, that's all right.
I haven't been there for a while, I guess. Huh? So you are kind of used to being in front of a crowd, I guess. So
Yeah,
in a
well,
sense,
in a musical context,
Yeah, in a
as
musical
far like
context.
a band context, yes, but not in a
not in a conversation.
one-on-one, long form interview
Okay.
context.
All right.
But I'm game. Game
That's
for
good.
it.
That's
Yeah.
good. All right. So I want to, I'm looking at you and I'm thinking, I want to know a little bit about how you grew up.
Mm.
Like your family, your brothers and sisters, if you had any,
Mhm.
what kind of an environment you grew up in, and then we can move on from there. Well, I'd love to hear about that.
Great,
You got
yeah.
something to tell me about that.
So I'm the oldest of three.
Yeah.
I have a brother named Steve and
Mhm.
a sister named Liz, who recently got married over the summer, which is awesome.
Great.
All three of us were born in California, around the San Jose area. And when I was about 7, I think I was 7, my dad took a job. He was in the computer tech semiconductor field or world,
Yeah.
and still is to this day. But he took a job that at the time was in Hopkinton, Massachusetts, whereas it's same office park that the Dell EMC office park is now. But go back a number of years.
Yeah. Yeah.
Obviously, Dell and EMC were not there, but he took a job there, and
Oh, those big buildings up in oh,
yes, right off of 495.
EMC. Yeah. I know exactly. Okay,
Yep.
go ahead.
Yep. And
Huh.
and so he found a home in Holliston, and that's the majority of my childhood, or at least the parts that I remember, are from that area. I remember I have a few very distant, kind of vague memories of California. but most of my childhood that I can remember is from the Holliston, Ashland, Framingham, kind of Metro West sort of area. Um,
So you
So,
got
yeah.
out of California just in time, huh?
yes, yes. Yeah, we've gone back a couple times
Yeah.
to visit my family, and my wife's family still has family out there.
Yeah.
So we've gone back a handful of times, and we love it every time.
Yeah.
So yeah, my mom was very influential in. So we were all three of us were homeschooled.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Ah,
we were homeschooled in California,
wow.
and we continued to be homeschooled in Massachusetts
Yeah.
up through my sophomore year of high school.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then I finished out my junior and senior year of high school at Whitensville Christian.
Hmm.
And my brother graduated from there as well. And then my sister graduated actually from Andover High School. My dad remarried a woman who has 3 kids of her own from a previous marriage.
Mm-hmm.
And so when they got married, it was like the Brady Bunch
The Brady
coming
Bunch.
together. And she and her former husband were still he's still very much in the picture, still in their kids' lives. So
Yeah.
they're all from that Andover area. They didn't want to relocate. So my dad relocated us from Holliston to Andover. The 8 of us moved in together into this big old home. The summer I graduated high school. Summer prior to me going off to school at Berklee College of Music in Boston.
Yeah.
We all came together, and it was very interesting. We'd never done anything like that before.
Like the
So
Brady Bunch thing?
yeah, just
Oh.
that blended family. You know, they had a paradigm, a lens
Yeah,
through
yeah.
which they were viewing
Yeah.
how to go about their daily lives and
They weren't homeschooled,
disciplines
were
and
they?
stuff. They were not homeschooled, no.
Yeah.
And
So
we
at the
had
time,
we had
how
our
old,
content.
how old were you when this happened? Like when your
I was 18.
father, 18. So you were already
Yeah.
like, okay. All right.
Yep. They my dad remarried the same year I graduated high school.
Huh,
It was
okay.
1999.
Yeah.
Which is weird to say.
You feel
Seems
old
like
all of a
decades
sudden?
ago. Yeah, you don't. Yeah.
So how was that transition from being homeschooled to moving to? It was a Christian. It's a Christian high school. But
Mm-hmm.
were there any significant differences in the transition? Anything that you felt that was a little?
That's a great
Little
question.
different?
Yeah, there were. I would say socially, I think all 3 of us, myself and my 2 siblings, were prepared and brought up well, in a way where it didn't socially didn't feel awkward. It wasn't. I don't think it was a difficult transition. I don't want to speak totally on my brothers and sisters' behalf, but
Yeah.
for me, I know that I had already known some of these people, so there was already some relational spheres kind of crossing over with a handful of who were then to become my classmates, and I think that's all to my mother's credit, because she made it a point to make sure that even though we were homeschooled and we were at the house all day, she prioritized us socializing and getting out,
Yeah.
out of the house, and involved in sports, involved in community activities. We met a bunch of other homeschoolers around that whole kind of Metro West, even Blackstone Valley area. Played sports. I may have mentioned that already.
So
but
when you went to high school, you were also socializing with a lot of the kids. So in the high school, you found a lot of people that you already had been
a handful,
friends
not
with
too many,
or
but a
few of them.
handful. Yeah,
Enough
yeah.
to kind of provide
Yeah,
support.
it didn't feel like socially, it did not feel like a huge difference.
Huge
Like
jump, yeah.
I have no idea what I'm doing here. I don't even know how to walk through the door and
Yeah.
talk to these people.
Yeah.
It was not like that. And some of that's just like our personalities, me and my siblings' personalities.
Yeah.
We're us Muscolinos are fairly outgoing people.
Yeah.
And social people, and we just love to hang out with people and have a good time and laugh and
Yeah.
all that. And again, much of that is credited to my
Your
mother.
mother?
just making sure that we didn't, because we met several other homeschool families, throughout the years. And I can tell you that, not all homeschooling styles are the same.
Yeah.
Not all homeschooling philosophies and lenses through which they educate and acclimate their children into like the community. Not everyone does that the same.
Yeah.
And we saw some, or I acknowledged even then as a young adolescent and into my teenage years, some contrast in that there are some families who weren't as, I would say, socially acclimated as we were.
Yeah.
And again, I did just, my mom did a phenomenal job
Huh.
making sure we were plugged in.
So in the environment that you grew up in, I guess I'm assuming, but I can say where there's also kind of an undergirding Christian
Yes. So
foundation there.
my mother had always been a Christian as long as I was around and we were around, my siblings. So that was always the at the forefront of our education, our discipline, our social, socializing with other families and stuff, and the prioritization of attending a local church and getting plugged into that community and being active in social outreaches and
Yeah.
whether that was through the church or not. Just she really was the pillar and the trailblazer, if you will, for us regarding that. Yeah.
How does how does your mother, just kind of a roundabout around, I'm going around the whole idea here, but I want to ask, how do you feel that your mother taught you to look at the world? And when I mean the world, I'm separating your Christian upbringing and being within a Christian setting and stepping outside. Now let's look at the world. How did she teach you to view the world, or to look at the world, or to be prepared for the world?
I think.
Because let me just finish that. Actually, the part of the question is also, you went from homeschooling under a Christian foundation, then you went to a Christian school, which also had some Christian undergirdings there. But then you moved on to Berkeley College, which is kind of in Boston, and it seems like it's a very different culture.
Oh yes,
If you think about
for
it.
sure.
So
Yeah.
now, how did your mother teach you, or how did she prepare you, or what did she do to tell you, this is what you need to know about the world?
Yeah.
When did that happen, or how did it happen?
It's another great question. You've done this before, I see. Yeah.
No, but you.
True. I think I could probably answer that, but take a lot of time doing so.
That's okay. We got time.
So I'll try to.
You can condense it in your mind,
I'll try to
yeah.
consolidate it.
But don't worry about
I
time.
think the most important component, or perspective, maybe, is that to not create a distinction.
I follow so far.
She again, I think a big part of why or what motivated her to not just like sit in the house all day and be like really good learners, and because homeschoolers are notoriously like head smart. I'm painting with a fairly broad brush, but like there is a stigma, or at least there was then, that homeschoolers were very book smart but socially inept. And not only did she do a great job of making sure that wasn't going to be the case with us, but also the underlying motivation was that we don't want to create a distinction between us and them. We are like you. Our educational environment, of course, is very different from those who are not homeschooling, but and likewise in the context of a faith system or a belief system, I think I was confident. I think a reason why I was confident heading into Berklee College of Music, coming from, whereas like all my previous educational environments were in a Christian context, going to this very non-Christian context
Yeah.
for 4 years, for my college education, it wasn't. I felt very prepared to engage with people and navigate tension and disagreement and conflict healthily. I'm sure I screwed it up plenty of times. I'm sure I did not follow her advice from time to time, but I also learned through those difficult conversations and sometimes hurtful encounters where I didn't want to do something because of my beliefs, and someone did, and by me not engaging in that,
Yeah.
was offensive to them, or like, why wouldn't you do that?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I didn't always make those choices. Sometimes I did go out, and there was actually I'll provide a disclaimer to this whole, like, I took a pretty good sabbatical, if you will, a disengagement of my faith,
Yeah.
specifically during my college years, as is probably the case, or so I've heard from several other
No, it just probably happened
college
to
students.
you.
Yeah, no, it's just me. Yeah, I'm the lone exception, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but there was still that foundation.
Yeah.
Even though I went through a pretty significant like questioning period,
Yeah.
I cannot say that I ever just completely disbelieved or was like, forget it. I am done with the Christian faith, with the Christian church, with the Christian theology, with Christians. I'm
Yeah.
done with. I never believed that or acted that out of that mind frame. I knew, and I fought it, even though I was fighting it. I knew that those seeds were deeply rooted. But I still, there was still a lot of tension there.
Yeah. So when you went to
It's a long-winded answer, and maybe not a
no,
direct
that's
one,
perfect.
but
No, that's not long-winded.
yeah.
Because I'm still on it. I'm trying to like parse it a little bit.
Sure.
You, when you went, it wasn't like total culture shock when you went to college, or
No, I will say, I guess I didn't really. No, I didn't feel that way.
yeah,
Yeah, it
But-
didn't feel.
but-
I wasn't like, whoa, what's
Right.
this? Whoa, what's that? It was just
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
whoa, okay, this is happening. This is a choice I can make.
yeah,
That's a choice I can make. That's
Yeah.
like there was just the option. Holliston's not a
Yeah.
huge, thriving metropolitan area.
Yeah.
So like, there's a parallel I think from even musically, like when I was learning how to play, I played the drums primarily. That was my
Great job, by
primary
the way.
instrument. Thank you,
Keep it
appreciate
up.
that.
Anyway.
That was my primary instrument in school, and before when I was like, oh man, I really want to go to Berklee. When I was like 16 or so, I was like, man, I think I really want to go to Berklee, and started talking to people about it. And as I was preparing for that mentally and like practically through my skill and gift that God gave me, my paradigm, my lens was fairly narrow, not by choice, but just because that was, all I knew was like this kind of compartment. And then when I went to school, when I went to Berklee, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
it was innocent ignorance. I literally did not know any better. I did not know that there was this kind of music and this kind of music and these kind of people,
Yeah.
and the talent pool was insane. I did not go in there thinking like I was the best drummer in the world, by any stretch.
Yeah.
I thought it was okay
Yeah.
enough to get into Berkeley, like like so.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, so I was like, but I had no idea.
Yeah.
I had no idea. And similarly, I think
Hmm.
there was regarding faith in different cultures and different encountering and meeting people and actually having dialogue with people who have very different views on life and faith and
Mm-hmm.
theology and philosophy and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Um, I remained. I kept an open mind,
Mm-hmm.
um, but I didn't really know how to sort that all
Mm-hmm.
out.
Mm.
It was very much like in the moment buffering.
Yeah. Oh.
um,
Hmm.
but I never felt lost. I never felt like I don't know what I believed. Is it this? Is it that? And I don't say that like that's not to. I don't say that in like a mocking or sarcastic way.
No, no, I hear you.
Um,
Yeah.
some like a lot of people do go through those
There was
seasons
a
of
strong
life.
foundation that you still have that strong
Yes.
foundation.
Yes.
You had the
Yes.
questions and you had the challenges.
Yes.
Probably a lot of challenges,
Yeah.
and you had the ambiguities, I guess, here and there
Yeah.
because it's a big, big place. You are like right. Berkeley is like almost you could say almost like the heart of Boston. So it's a
Oh
lot
yeah,
of
right in
stuff
the back of the
happening.
area. Yep.
So anyway,
Yeah.
so but I was just like wondering. I was wondering. You did have the challenges and you did have the questions, and I wanted to see if you could carry me to. Was there a time, and did this time happen at Berkeley, or did it happen after? Did it happen where in between? And if it happened, I'm thinking it did happen, but you tell me. Was there a solid time when you actually put both feet fully on the ground and says, "No, this is the way it is. I'm gonna stay firm the whole way
Yes.
forward."
For sure.
Okay.
Yep. Absolutely. Um, so I failed to mention this earlier. The reason why
Mm-hmm.
me and my siblings were homeschooled up to a certain point, and then we transitioned to a private, Waitensville Christian,
Mm-hmm.
was that at that time my mom was diagnosed with colon cancer and
Mm.
unfortunately passed away.
Oh,
So-
you forgot to mention that.
Yes. Yep. And so
Mm.
so of course that was a big deal.
Mm.
And not there wasn't a whole lot of time between then or that occurring
Mhm.
and heading out to school.
Mm.
So I had a lot of in the immediate future or what transpired immediately from that happening.
Mhm.
I kind of went into this sort of like big big brother survival sort of mode
Mm.
where I, for better or for worse, I compartmentalized a lot of grief
Mm.
and hurt and pain
Mm.
because I knew that we needed to just keep going. I needed to find a place to go to school. I was trying to think about how my brother and my sister were doing with all this, and and we all, the four of us, my father and the three kids, I do recall after my mom passing, we all kind of went on our own little moats. I think emotionally,
Yeah.
at least that's my observation. My siblings or my father may feel differently, but that's how I kind of remember it happening. Was that it was this immediate like, what do you do with this? And the added complexity of having a Christian foundation and background where, what do you do with this? How does this occurrence reconcile with our belief system, right? So all of that I was kind of carrying into my college life. But I remember like several times just being like, what's the deal, God? Why the whole, why do bad things happen?
Mm-hmm.
If you're a loving God, why are all these terrible things happening to people, good people, bad people, whatever? Just like, I think I asked it honestly. I wasn't just like, why did this happen to me? Why did my mom die?
Mm-hmm.
Woe is me, woe is me, woe is me.
Yeah.
Although one would understand that if one were to feel that way, but I don't think it was never like. I don't think I ever shook my fist, so to speak,
Mm-hmm.
and said like, forget it, I'm done. As I mentioned earlier, but I did kind of I dug my heels in the ground. It was like, until I can understand this, until you can reveal to me like what happened, why did this happen, and more generally, like, why do things like this happen? Whether it's a family member passing, whether it's a financial crisis, like whatever the thing is, fill in the blank.
Mm-hmm.
Hardship, XYZ.
Yeah.
Why does this happen? And until I get it, like, we're not going one more step down this road.
Time out.
Yeah, it was. It was a timeout. But all that being said, I do remember I remember very clearly one specific time, I was heading into my senior, not even my senior year, my last semester of school. And I do remember I was sharing an apartment with some friends at the time. I remember sitting there, and it was just one of like I had several of these moments where I was just like, what am I doing? What am I gonna do with my life? I'm trying to get this music thing going, and just trying to just think about 3 or 4 years, 5 years down the road where I want to land. And I had one of those moments heading into my last semester. And it was particularly pressing because it was like, okay, this is happening. I'm an adult. I'm graduating high school, and I remember just being really terrified, not knowing what the heck I was gonna do.
High school senior year.
No, college.
College. Okay.
College.
All right. So this
Yeah.
is really happening.
Yes. Yeah. Right. And I was sitting there. I was by myself. No, both my roommates were out,
Yeah.
and I had always had my mom's Bible. I'd always kept my mom's Bible, just as a nice, memory of her. And I had taken a look at it from time to time. I always had it on me, with me, wherever I was. It typically collected dust on a bookshelf. But that day, that evening, I remember as I was sitting there being like, oh gosh, it's my last semester. What am I, like, what's going on? What am I doing? This is crazy. I've had this wonderful experience at Berkeley, but now it's like, time to be a big boy and get a job and all those thoughts that I'm sure most college students go through from time to time. And I was like, I'm just going to grab my mom's Bible. So I grabbed my mom's Bible with no like intention or preconceived notion of like, I don't know. I just felt moved to grab it. So I did. I grabbed it. I opened it up, and I just remember just randomly flipping through, the many, many pages of the Bible. And my mom was a note taker and like a margin writer and a highlighter. This thing was lit up like a Christmas tree. There were all sorts of passages. I mean, it seemed like she didn't know what a journal was back then, or a notepad, because she took every single note possible, filled up seemingly every single margin, every square inch of margin on those pages, with notes about this thing at that thing, and highlighting all these different verses. And I saw several verses where I can still see her handwriting, where she wrote, this one's for Joey, or this one's sorry,
That's
this
great.
this one's for Stephen, or she'd highlight a passage and say that had for my father. This one, my dad's name is Frank. This one's for Frank, or this this is a godly husband or a godly. She just wrote all this stuff. very specific, very personal.
Hmm.
And I'm sure I had seen those before. But there was something very significant about that moment where I think it was one of many instances in one's walk with God where the another layer of self, another layer of needing to know everything empirically and objectively by my own standards and by my own definitions. I do remember that instance just being like, okay, this is very real to me right now. And my mom she was not a fool. She did not naively lead us into this faith whimsically or without like wrestling, and I'm sure she wrestled with a lot of things herself, particularly through her illness. But man, that it just motivated me. It inspired me like very much in the moment, and I remember saying out loud, like, okay, I think I'm ready to like, I think I'm okay not knowing. I think I'm okay with not having everything laid out for me with it, like, so that I can understand it. And I think there was a revelation that transpired there, where God was telling me, I know this hurts. I know you've been hurting, but it's like I didn't hear him necessarily speak these. It was more like thoughts that I think I was putting in my mind. But I've used this analogy a number of times where, like, I don't know what trigonometry is. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, if you put a trigonometry textbook in front of me, like, I know what it is category, like, but I don't know anything about it.
Yeah.
You throw up some, problems on a board, I have no idea, right?
Yeah.
And this may be a poor analogy, but this is the one that sticks with me.
It's okay.
My lack of the content of that trigonometry textbook does not render it true or not. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, just because I don't get it,
Yeah.
it's not the book's fault. It's not the textbook's fault.
Yeah.
And maybe fault is not the right word, but it's not. It's not like
Doesn't nullify it just because
Yeah,
you
yeah.
don't understand it.
right.
Yeah.
Just means that, like, if I want to learn it, I got some work to do. And I remember in that moment going like, okay,
And trigonometry is compared to God is
yeah, yeah, exactly. So I got out of my own head about it. I think for the first time, maybe ever, or up to that point.
yeah.
I just kind of let go of the grip on, like, if I don't get it, if I don't understand it, then I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna move another inch.
Yeah.
And I kind of let go. I shouldn't say kind of. I very much let go. And seeing my mom's Bible and stuff, I just sat there. I just like wept, like I have not wept since I was a child, and maybe even at my mom's funeral. And it wasn't. I wasn't sad.
Yeah.
I was really, really, really happy and felt free. I felt liberated. I felt like a weight. I know it's very cliche to say, but it did feel like a weight that I chose to carry fell off in a very Pilgrim's Progress-y sort of way. So that was a huge kind of 180 point for me. And literally from that day forward, I was like, if I'm going to do this, meaning if I'm going to claim to believe this, I'm gonna start living like it as well, and not just um, be on the fence about it anymore. So I rearranged my final semester schedule at that point for Berkeley had been set, and I had a cake schedule my last semester.
Yeah.
Something like no classes on Mondays, no classes on Fridays, no early classes during the week. Like it was a money schedule,
Yeah.
and I was psyched about it. And I remember saying to myself, okay, I want to re-engage the church that I had been going to prior to school, which at that point was in Ashland. And I still maintained some friendships there. In fact, the youth pastor that was pastoring at that church at that time had contacted me, had reached out to me, and even drove into the city and had lunch with me a couple times throughout the years, throughout my years at Berkeley, and just maintained relationship there. And I just all I knew at that point was like, I just want to go back there. That's a safe environment for me. It's a known environment for me, church wise. And then it was kind of off to the races after that.
Off to the races after
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So you've been doing pretty good with your music career and doing a good service with that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the context that I'm playing in, or that I've been playing in predominantly has been the church worship context. I've played a handful of gigs outside of that context for some friends and some on some ad hoc basis, filling in for their drummer who couldn't make it or
Yeah.
what have you.
But that's a wonderful story.
Thank you.
You have a great story. Well, it's great how it makes me think sometimes. I mean, it's kind of not too far fetched, but sometimes how you listen to preachers like Vernon McGee, for example, on the radio. I don't know if you're familiar with.
I'm
that,
familiar
but-
with the name, not the face.
Yeah, well, Vernon
or
McGee
or his
he
messages.
passed many years ago.
Okay.
Many years ago, but you can still hear him on the radio.
Okay.
You can still listen to his sermons, and he still blesses a lot of people.
Mm.
And actually, the ministry continues with just that radio show.
Mm.
And I'm sure there's probably others like that. So, in a sense, it's a good dramatic picture that, in a sense, your mother was speaking from
Mm.
from heaven to you, in a sense, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And that was
Yeah.
wonderful that you kept her Bible and
Oh yeah.
that you came upon that, and
Yeah.
that really happened. That's something that she really did.
Yes.
So you came upon something that she had actually touched
Yeah.
and written on, and written specifically for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
It was
that
a
makes
very
it a
visceral, tangible experience. Like
Yeah.
you said, it was great.
Well, that is a wonderful story.
Mm.
So, what can you follow up with that? Tell
I
me
can
about
start
that.
asking you questions
Tell
if
me
you'd
about.
like. I can flip the script on you.
We'll do a show next week, and then you can. So now you're like you're out of college, and you
yes,
now
I've been out of college for
you've
some
been out
number
of college
years
for a
now.
while.
Yeah.
Then you met a wonderful lady in your life.
Did
Yeah.
yes. As I mentioned earlier, I after what I would call my, adult conversion experience,
Mm-hmm.
I re-engaged into the church community that I had come from prior to moving out to Berkeley and going to school there,
Yeah.
or moving out to Boston and going to school at Berkeley, and oh gosh, that was 2003, and in 2004, some mutual friends of ours, David and Janelle Payne, introduced me to a woman. Victoria is her name, and Janelle Payne was like, "I think you should meet this. I think you should meet this girl."
Mm.
And they were good friends. They were always kind of looking out. Janelle in particular, she was always looking out for like potential
Trying to
mates
fix you up.
for Joey. Yep, yep. And she was good at it. She had a good track record. She had a very good track record with other people. So, yeah, she introduced us, and there definitely was an immediate connection. and an attraction,
Yeah.
and then, but she was seeing someone at the time.
Oh.
So
Mm.
I was like, okay, well, this can only go so far. I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna go out of my way to break this up,
Yeah.
and kind of let things happen as they may. Um, Victoria took a little hop, skip, and a jump over to Arizona for a little while,
Mm-hmm.
and I think she was there for some number of months. It wasn't for years and years. Um, and at that time in Arizona, she ended the relationship she was in, and as soon as that happened, she headed back to her mom's place
Mm-hmm.
in Milford. And as the day she got back, well, prior to that, we started communicating quite frequently via email.
Mm-hmm.
This is back in the day when AOL Instant Messenger was a thing.
Yeah.
Um, so we were hitting up the IM machine all day long, and clearly there was something. There were. It was reciprocal. It wasn't just like me
Mm-hmm.
desperately reaching out to this woman. Like, do you like me?
Yeah. Yeah.
Please have the date with me. Like, no, she was good vibes back and forth.
Yeah.
So the day she got back, uh, we just spent as much time as possible together, and I proposed to her in 2005, and we got married in 2006.
Mm.
And yeah, if at the time you had asked me, "Are you looking for a wife, like at church?" I would have told you no, I was not.
Yeah.
I was not. But it happened. God had a different plan, and
Yeah. Do you
thank Him
see?
for it, because she
Do-
is a blessing in so many ways.
Yeah. Do you often see, or do you ever, well, maybe sometimes, whatever, whichever you want to choose, see God in a place like that where you don't know what the plan is, but He has a plan and you just have to sit there and kind of like wait it out? Or
Oh, daily,
yeah.
absolutely,
Wow.
daily, yeah, yeah. I if I if I relied on myself and my own version of like stability and security and
Mm.
well-mindedness and well-bodiedness, um,
Hmm.
I'd be a hot mess.
Mm.
Because I was. I know what that's like.
Mm.
I know what it's like to be um, to have my own finite perspective
Mm.
be the dictator and the barometer by which I do all things and function in life and
Mhm.
relate to other people, and I just that's yeah, that's a but the self, the very sinful selfish nature, um, that's a daily battle, man,
Yeah.
by the hour. Oh yeah. Yep.
Mm. Well, you got somebody good on your side, so
Indeed. Absolutely we do. Yes.
so that's a good thing then.
Yeah.
Now here we are, and now you have two children,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
you.
So we got married in '06. Uh, we were living in South Grafton. We lived in this little shoebox of an apartment.
Mm.
And then we wanted to buy a home in 2008, which in hindsight was a terrible idea because the economy was just like,
Yeah.
and of course not knowing what was going to happen at that point, we didn't know much better.
Mm.
We were just two newly married, young couple wanted the house and the kids and the
Yeah.
picket fence and the dog and all that. So,
You
Yeah,
got all of them now.
yes,
The dog is
yes,
coming,
The
right?
dog's yes, different story. Yes,
Anyway,
that's
yeah.
awesome. It's full circle. I see what you did there. That was good. Yeah, so we bought a home in Oxford, Mass, and that was in '08, and had our two girls there. Selah, our oldest, Selah Audrey, was born in May of 2010, And Symphony Hope was born in August of 2012.
Sela and Hope.
Yes. So it's
Symphony.
Selah Audrey and Symphony Hope.
Sela,
So
Audrey.
Selah Audrey, my mom's name was Adrian, but my dad always called her Audrey for
Oh,
short.
okay. After your
So
mom.
yeah, so Selah got her middle names after my mom,
Mm-hmm.
and my mother-in-law's last name is Hopewell. So Symphony, our youngest girl, got Victoria's mother, her name.
So your mom plays a significant part in your life.
Oh yes.
That'd be like, because I do, sometimes I wanted to ask you, typically I ask, what would be the person that in your life that you would always look back and say, this is the person that has most influence in my life? Would that be?
She would be
Top
number one
number
on
one?
a list, but she'd be number one. Yes. Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, now since we're on the subject, so I want you to think a little bit. Might
All right.
take a, don't worry about if you have to pause and think about it, but you can tell me, how would you say lately, you can take it lately and also look back in time, and if it's something that's been happening and it's a recurring thing, but how would you say that God has been speaking to you?
Hmm. Pretty directly,
Yeah,
I would say.
in the sense of what what has he been saying to you?
So,
Pretty directly.
yeah. Being, I think he speaks to me that I'm, and this is not unique to me,
Hmm.
but it doesn't mean I don't mean I
Well,
don't.
we're talking about you right
I
now.
don't. I don't.
Yeah.
I couldn't use a reminder from time to time, but that my effort and my natural wiring to want to do things really well and really perfect, and I tend to view things through a cynical lens. Not because I want to hurt anyone, or but I'm naturally inclined to want to highlight the bad before the good, generally speaking. And so I'm very hard on myself naturally.
So highlight the bad on yourself, not
Oh
on
yes.
things
Oh
around you.
yes. First,
Huh,
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oftentimes, if I'm frustrated with a person or a circumstance or something, it's most likely because I am worked up about something about me. And so lately, you mentioned, I'm gonna connect a couple dots here.
Yeah.
You mentioned the dog thing. I was saying like, oh, we want to get married and
Yeah.
have the house and the white picket fence and the dog. So you mentioned the dog. I know you were alluding to the service dog for
Yeah.
our oldest daughter, Selah,
Yeah.
who is on the autism spectrum and encounters seizures on a daily basis and would greatly benefit from having a service dog. So Selah was diagnosed with this condition when she was, oh gosh, a year old, I think, somewhere around there. I'm sure Victoria, my wife, has it down to the date, but I think it was around that time. And so this is very real and fresh for me on a daily basis. I want to so much as a father fix that. And I think God, I know very much so that God says, you can't. I know you want to. I get that I want to. I'm sure God gets that I want to. But I can't. What I'm called to do, rather, is to seek strength and seek wisdom and discernment and ultimately support from Him, who is the source of all of that, so that I'm not relying on my own strength and ability to provide and fix and problem solve and lead, et cetera, et cetera. Just know your source, Joe. Know who your source is. You can't fix everything. The world is imperfect. You can't fix everything. And like I'm weird about a lot of I have a lot of like idiosyncrasies, like in daily like life stuff. Not quite like the show Monk. I don't know if you heard that.
No,
Like
I've seen that, but yeah.
I'm not. It's probably not the greatest reference, but like, I just have like a way of doing like everything. It's stupid, and I try really hard like not to impose that upon others.
Yeah.
But like some things were just dumb things where I'm just like I'm just that's not right. That's not right. That
Yeah.
pencil's not
This is-
exactly.
this
It's
is
just
set way to do
dumb
things.
like that. And it could be little things. It can also be very big things too.
Yeah.
And I want to fix it.
Yeah.
I want to make it right. So I hear constantly the Holy Spirit's voice saying, like, "I got this." I mean, you have a part to play here. You can just sit
Yeah.
around on your butt and do nothing. But know where the source is. Know who the source is. And gosh, don't beat yourself up when you mess it up, because I'm going to. I did before. I have before, and I'm sure I'll mess it up plenty of times in the future. Yeah.
That's great. That's that's a great thing. I hope that I know that when people listen to that, there will be people listening to that and hearing it and saying, "Hey, you know what? That speaks to me." So
Good.
speaking to me right now, so that's good.
Great. Yeah. That's
But
awesome.
we are getting close to closing, so it's gonna be just a few more minutes. But I wanted to I'm thinking of asking you. Usually, I give the guest an opportunity just to share something that would be targeted to anyone out there, but that that person thinks would be a good, useful piece of advice or something that you know that you can bless them with if you share that with them, that has spoken to you personally, that you can say, if I was to leave the world tomorrow, this is what I would leave the world with.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a heavy
That
thing,
is heavy.
but,
Yep.
but
No, it's a great question.
but
Yeah.
if you have something like that, this would be your opportunity. You can speak to me about it as if you're telling me, and or you can look at the camera, whichever you choose to do.
Yeah.
So, but do you have the last? I don't know, I'm gonna take 3-4 minutes.
Okay. Well, hopefully it won't take me that long.
If it does, that's fine. If not, I'll ask you another question.
Okay. I would say I would hope that, of course, my story is encouraging to others in the way that I think what I would, if you took anything out from this, it would be that we oftentimes, whether we're doing it intentionally or not, we really want to play God. We really, again, intentionally or unintentionally, create these paradigms for ourselves and these constructs in which we really are our own God. If A plus B doesn't equal C, then it can't be true. It can't be believed in. It can't be viewed as a valid belief system. And there are several belief systems in the world. There's no shortage of religions and belief systems in general. But I really do firmly believe that Jesus Christ was a person who came and died for our sins and our sicknesses, and um, and rose again from the dead, and there is a triune God. There is Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, and um, I understand that there are nuances and details to that for some are either is just unknown. There's just ignorance, like not knowing, and also some sunburn from perhaps people abusing that those words, those terms, those positions, those. There's a lot of nuance there. I'm not going to pretend like that doesn't exist, but I know, for me, coming to the end of myself was the turning point. That experience with, sitting down on this couch in my apartment in Boston, I felt like I came to the end of myself. I was done doing things and thinking through things and processing through things and arriving at conclusions my own way. So I would encourage people to consider that there is there is an end to us. I don't mean like an end to our lives, but I mean, although that's true, of course, but that our intellect cannot be it, if that makes sense. And I think that's a very dangerous place to be in, because I was there.
So the be all end all.
Yes, and I would say not only is our own intellect not the final end all be all, but that God's infinite being and knowledge and power is the only source for true reconciliation unto Him, and faith and grace and love and everything that we want to be, hopefully to others. That is the source. Yeah.
There you go.
That's like meta, but
no, that's good. Well,
I try to
perfect timing.
Yeah, keep it in that tight 3-4 minutes.
Joey, I wish we had another 3 hours to talk, but we don't.
Oh, well, off camera we do.
We do.
Yeah.
We do. Well, not tonight, but we do. I want to do that. I want to do that in the future soon. That's
great.
Talk to your people. I'll talk to my people. Yeah. But thank you very much for joining me. Thank you very much for coming over.
Yes.
Driving in that dangerous situation out there.
No worries. Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you. And thank you, everyone. And we'll see you next time when we have the next person to tell their story.